Hi, welcome to the final day of May. Tomorrow's June the 1st, and we'll be doing our normal Saturday morning live program between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Thai time. Now, it's a pretty wet and wild day today, but still 31 degrees. So I'm not exactly sure where I'll be doing it tomorrow, but we will be giving time to you to make your comments, questions, bring up topics that you want to talk about. It's a whole hour, you and me. We just get together every Saturday morning. So we look forward to seeing you there. Also on Sunday, of course, we'll have Grumpy Old Men. And Steve's very grumpy this week and plenty to talk about. Maybe discussing Soy 6. So that'll all be happening on Sunday. But a bit of sad news to start today's program. And this was reported across the media, but this is from Cowside English on their Facebook page. The Chiang Mai Zoo officials and Doi Suthep National Park officials unfortunately found the carcass of a female red kangaroo yesterday. The kangaroo had escaped from the Australian Animal Exhibition at the Chiang Mai Zoo on the morning of May 28. And the official stated the preliminary cause of death was drowning, as the area in the forest has a high basin, preventing the kangaroo from jumping out. So it appears that marsupial ended up in a creek with high banks and wasn't able to get out. So sad news. Now we go to the family-friendly resort of Patia, and a South Korean tourist loses 3 teeth, maybe more, after getting kicked in the face by Patia exotic animal exhibitor. The story starts with 3 teeth, ends up with 4 or 5. And the PatiaNews.com says that a South Korean tourist filed a report to Patia police in the early hours of yesterday, claiming he was kicked in the face twice by an exotic animal exhibitor. The tourist lost 3 teeth after getting kicked. This happened at the runway market on the Pattaya 2nd Road. It happened to Mr. Munsu Park, a 38-year-old South Korean. He was there with his older brother and girlfriend. But it looks like a bit more up-to-date reporting here from CowsideEnglish.com. Thai man kicks Korean tourist, causing 400,000 baht in dental damages. And the incident occurred on late Wednesday night when Mr. Bass, the Thai man, brought a python and a Siberian owl to show to international tourists in front of the runway market on Patia's 2nd Road. However, there was a sign stating that photography was prohibited. It turned out that Mr. Park, who was visiting Thailand for the first time, quickly walked over to watch and immediately raised his mobile phone to take a picture. So this is one of those things that happens in Thailand, the animal tourism. If it's not elephants, it is these sideshows where they've got, I've seen a bald eagle used many times up on the Coron viewpoint, and they charge 100 or 200 baht for people to take a photo. It's all a bit sickening to me, but it happens. And this South Korean, well, he didn't quite understand what was going on. And when Mr. Bass warned him that photography was not allowed, the two got into an argument. Mr. Park picked up a 100 baht bill and threw it at Mr. Bass, angering him. And Mr. Bass threw the money on the ground. As the Korean man bent down to pick up the money, Mr. Bass kicked him in the face twice, causing him to fall on his back, bleeding from his mouth and his front teeth falling out. What is it with Thai people kicking foreigners in the head? Mr. Bass further down there, he admitted that he was angry and did the wrong thing. He apologised to the tourist with a Y and will fully compensate the injured tourist. Sometimes maybe a Y is just not enough, although of course expected here in Thailand. Now, I'm just also pondering what would happen if the shoe was on the other foot in these 2 highly publicised cases in Patia this week. What would happen if the foreigners were kicking the Thais in the face? I'm sure there'd be even more social media outrage, and those foreigners would be spending quite a lot of time behind bars, missing their return flight, and also probably going to trial on assault charges. Just wondering what you think about that. Now, with thanks to our sponsors, 5 Star Marine at 5starmarinephuket.com, as well as Beach House Thailand. There's links in the description below if you'd like to go for a bespoke private charter tour out to the island of Panga. And whilst you're in Panga, you can come up to Thai Muang and stay in a beautiful beach house. There's 3 to choose from, and you can see all the booking locations down below in the description. We go to our next story now, and back to broccoli. And reported in the PatiaNews.com, cannabis advocates rally in Bangkok. Over 1,000 submit People's Cannabis Act to Thai PM. So the government's preparing its Cannabis Act, but this group has, well, they've taken the initiative and done their own. And the head of the Western Herbal Community Business Network, alongside 1,000 cannabis supporters, submitted a draft of the People's Cannabis Act and a petition to the Thai PM in front of the United Nations. And their primary demand was to oppose the should-be reclassification of cannabis as a narcotic drug, which would essentially recriminalise it. And he warned that such a move could lead to unemployment for Thai traditional medicine doctors who rely on cannabis for their treatments, unlike modern doctors who have access to other cannabis-derived medicinal substances. And his community encompasses over 450 enterprises with more than 10,000 members. He personally invested over $2 billion, that seems like a lot of money, in cannabis farms, navigating a 14-month approval process by the Narcotics Committee and FDA to secure legal permission for the cannabis business. And he stressed that the community is willing to comply with all government regulations and criteria. However, he urged the government to support their efforts and take decisive action against illegally imported cannabis buds. Well, a rearguard action there from 1,000 broccoli supporters, and at some stage I'd imagine over the next month we will see the first draft of the new Cannabis Act heading to Parliament. It was just a few days ago when the Ministry of Interior, the former Public Health Minister Anitin Shahvirakun, had a bit of a health scare and said he was going to be taking it easy and perhaps losing a bit of weight, but hasn't stopped him being quite vociferous about this topic. And the Ministry of Interior calls for immediate action to eradicate e-cigarettes. And if you want a wide selection of e-cigarettes, looks like this warehouse has got everything that you might need. And we should say that this is a media release from the Thai government PR department. And it says the Ministry of Interior has indicated that it's an urgent policy to eradicate e-cigarettes, following consistent daily reports of e-cigarette busts from administrative officials. And the Non-Smoking Campaign Foundation recently reported that children as young as 10 are becoming addicted to e-cigarettes, and he emphasised that e-cigarettes adversely affect children's brain development. Minister Anitin mentioned that doctors in the Ministry of Public Health unanimously agree that e-cigarettes are dangerous and offer no benefits. He noted that e-cigarettes are just as harmful as traditional cigarettes, containing nicotine, which causes addiction. Well, I think you can get e-cigarettes without nicotine, but why bother? And the minister pointed out that many parents have complained about this issue, which needs immediate attention, thanks to tips from the public officials have been effective in seizing e-cigarettes. As to how this is going to end up legislatively and how it's going to affect the tens of thousands of people that wander around all sorts of parts of Thailand with a e-cigarette hanging out of their mouth is yet to be seen. Now, there has been the big story this week about visas and big changes to the visa situation in Thailand. However, there are many questions that we have, and they've been well pointed out by Barry Canyon in an article in Patia Mail. And their headline, Latest Thailand Visa News, What We Are Waiting to Hear. And with the visa exemption, the 93 countries, Barry asks, can these tourists extend their 60 days for another month at local immigration offices? And can they do a border hop to start it all over again? So if you can't extend your 60-day visa exemption, then really all you've avoided is a visit to immigration. But we don't know the answer on that yet. To the next one. Barry points out here that the new visa rules for visitors were introduced by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, but will be administered by the Immigration Department. So Will we be able to extend these visa exemptions? We don't know yet. Now, to the destination Thailand visa, Barry says it's incomplete. He says, we know it's a multiple entry visa valid for 5 years and aimed largely at remote workers and digital nomads for a maximum stay of 180 days with an extension of another 180 days. And then there's some talk there about the relative costs, but some social media contributors have stated this visa can be used only twice in 5 years. That's 180 days plus 180 days. Now, that's how I interpreted it, but other people have interpreted it differently. Whilst others have declared you can live in Thailand for the entire 5 years as an alternative to the elite visa or the annual extension of stay based on retirement visa. And neither extreme makes any sense. Yeah, well, he's right. So exactly what the conditions of the DTV are, we're not exactly sure. I'm very sure it doesn't mean 180 days plus 180 days plus 180 days for up to 5 years. Absolutely positive about that. Otherwise, well, bye-bye Thai elite visas. And as for the other one, 180 days plus another 180 days during a 5-year period, that doesn't quite ring true either. So we are, with that DTV, awaiting clarification. And to the next one. And Barry calls it an awesome elephant in the room that all foreign tax residents will have to register by early next year for possible personal income tax on overseas income. A tax resident spends more than 6 months in Thailand in the calendar year. Yeah, so that's 180 days. If the Thai government is serious about encouraging expat numbers in Thailand, it should issue an unambiguous statement that foreign income on pensions already taxed in the home country will not be subject to further inquiry in Thailand. So that unambiguous statement would be very welcome indeed. So some good questions there posed by Barry Kenyon and will have been thought by us over the past week since we heard the news about these new visas. A lot more information to come out on that one. And in the meantime, confusion abounds. Hopefully, though, you're a bit more up to date with some of the things happening around Thailand. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. That's our live program between 9 and 10 a.m. Thai time on this channel. And we'll see you next time.